Chapter 1. The Battlefield's Silent Echo. The dying light of the twin suns bled across the fractured plains of Dracos V, casting long shadows over a land scarred by relentless warfare. The air was thick with a metallic tang, a bitter mixture of burnt plasma and scorched flesh that clung to every surface. Jagged remnants of once mighty war machines lay half-buried in the dust, their hulls twisted beyond recognition, silent testimonies to the fury of battles past. The ground was uneven and cratered, pockmarked by countless explosions that had torn through the earth like wounds inflicted by a merciless hand. Jagged towers and ruined fortifications, once symbols of the Varan Empire's dominion, now stood like broken monuments to a glory that was slipping away into oblivion. Above this desolation, the sky churned with toxic storms, swirling clouds of acid rain and radioactive ash that obscured the stars and promised no respite, only endless night. Amidst the wreckage and silence moved a solitary figure, his silhouette imposing even in defeat. Kaeldar was unlike any other left alive on Dracos V, his stature massive, his frame armored in once glorious battle gear now dented, scorched, and smeared with the grime of war. His carapace, an iridescent armor of chitin and alloy that shimmered faintly beneath the dim light, was cracked and broken in places, exposing raw flesh that oozed dark ichor. His multifaceted eyes, reflecting the dull glow of the dying suns, flickered with pain and something deeper, a conflicted storm of rage, sorrow, and a desperate yearning for survival. He had been a commander of legends, a warrior whose name echoed in the halls of Varan history, a symbol of unyielding strength and brutal honor. Yet now, he was reduced to a broken shadow of that legend, dragging himself across the battlefield like a ghost. The memories of the recent battle haunted him with vivid clarity, the deafening roar of energy weapons, the shattering explosions that swallowed entire battalions, the screams of comrades lost in fire and fury. He had fought with the desperation of a cornered beast, wielding his plasma glaive with a ferocity that had carved through enemy ranks like a storm of burning stars. But the humans had been relentless, their machines overwhelming, their tactics ruthless. Wave after wave had crashed against the Varan defenders until the citadel had finally fallen, swallowed by the advancing tide of destruction. And now, in the eerie silence that followed, Kaeldar's mind wrestled with a bitter truth. His empire was collapsing, and with it, the very code of honor that had defined his existence. Every step was agony, muscles torn and joints aching, but Kaeldar's will refused to yield. He crawled among the shattered remains of his kin, searching for any sign of life, any flicker of hope. His senses, honed through centuries of combat, detected the faintest movements, the whispered breaths of survivors hidden beneath rubble or cloaked in the shadows. Yet as the hours dragged on, the cruel reality pressed closer. He was alone. The battlefield was a tomb, silent and unforgiving, where the proud had fallen and the strong had been broken. His cries for aid echoed against the barren rocks, unanswered except by the distant rumble of the storm. The code of the Varan demanded strength, resilience, and victory. Mercy was a foreign concept, reserved for the weak. Yet now, as Kaeldar knelt amidst the ruins, his thoughts twisted into a bitter plea. He found himself crying out, not in rage but in desperate supplication, begging the unseen forces of the cosmos for mercy, not for himself, but for his people, for the empire slipping away like dust in the wind. His once proud voice trembled, the warrior's facade crumbling beneath the weight of loss and despair. It was in this moment of profound vulnerability that an unexpected presence appeared, silent, steady, and resolute. A human figure stepped through the swirling mists of ash and dust, clad in utilitarian armor marked by years of service and hardship. Unlike the warriors who had filled the skies with war cries, this human bore no weapons drawn in fury, only the quiet strength of compassion and determination. His eyes, sharp and unyielding, met Kaeldar's with a calm that transcended the battlefield's chaos. The human, named Marcus, had been part of the occupying force that brought the Varan Empire to its knees. Yet amidst the carnage, where many sought only conquest and annihilation, Marcus had chosen a different path. Against orders and expectations, he had stayed behind to search for survivors, to offer aid where possible, and to bear witness to the true cost of war. His presence was a stark contrast to the relentless tide of destruction, a single beacon of mercy in a sea of despair. As Kael'thar's eyes locked with Marcus's, the alien warrior saw not an enemy, but a fellow being shaped by pain and loss. In that silent exchange, an unspoken understanding passed between them, that beyond the violence and hatred lay a shared yearning for survival and peace. Marcus knelt beside the broken warrior, extending a hand not in threat, but in aid. The gesture was met with hesitation, pride wrestling with desperation, but finally, Kael'thar accepted. Together, they rose from the ashes of a fallen empire, two survivors bound by fate, and the fragile hope that mercy could find a place even in the darkest of wars. The battlefield's silent echo began to stir with the promise of a new beginning, one where the scars of the past could become the foundation for a future forged not in blood, but in understanding. Chapter 2: Shadows of War and Seeds of Compassion. The bitter winds swept across the desolate plains of Dracos V, carrying with them the scent of smoldering wreckage and the faint, haunting echoes of battles long past. Underneath the bruised sky, the world seemed caught between the relentless grasp of ruin and the fragile promise of dawn. Kael'thar's steps were slow and uncertain, each movement an agony in his battered form. Yet every inch forward was a testament to an indomitable will that refused to succumb. The warrior who once strode with the confidence of a conqueror was now a figure of humility forced to confront not only the ravages of war, but the profound vulnerability that accompanied survival against all odds. The alien battlefield was strewn with the remnants of technology that had once epitomized Varan dominance. Plasma turrets shattered and smoking, hover tanks toppled like fallen beasts, and scattered weaponry half buried in the ash. Yet in this graveyard of destruction, pockets of quiet stirred. Hidden beneath collapsed walls, trapped within wrecked vehicles, or cloaked in the shifting shadows cast by the dim suns, survivors from both sides struggled to cling to life. The silence was deceptive. Beneath it pulsed the faint rhythm of hope, the stubborn heartbeat of those unwilling to surrender completely. Kael'thar's senses, honed through centuries of combat, were acutely attuned to this subtle pulse. Despite his pain and exhaustion, he moved with purpose, searching, listening, reaching out to the broken and the lost. The alien warrior's pride, once unyielding, had softened in the crucible of defeat and despair, replaced by an urgent compassion for the lives that flickered faintly around him. He was no longer the relentless commander of battle formations. He had become a reluctant guardian of the fallen, a silent witness to the cost of honor and war. The presence of the human, Marcus, remained a persistent thread woven through Kael'thar's thoughts. Their encounter had defied the brutal narratives etched into the fabric of their opposing races. Marcus's decision to remain behind, to seek mercy where others sought only conquest, was a paradox that challenged the alien warrior's deepest beliefs. In the vast machinery of war, compassion was often the first casualty, sacrificed at the altar of survival and dominance. Yet here, on this scarred world, mercy had taken form in the shape of a lone human who had looked beyond enemy lines and seen a fellow soul. Marcus moved with a quiet determination, his footsteps measured and unhurried as he traversed the shattered landscape. His armor bore the marks of countless engagements, scuffed, scratched, yet meticulously maintained, as if honoring the very battles that had scarred it. Unlike many of his comrades, who had succumbed to the desensitizing haze of war, Marcus carried with him a steadfast conviction that survival must be tempered by empathy. His mission had evolved from mere occupation to something profoundly personal, to save those who could still be saved, regardless of allegiance. Together, the human and the alien began to weave through the ruins, a fragile alliance forged in the fires of desperation. Marcus's medical knowledge, supplemented by scavenged technology, became a lifeline for Kael'thar, whose injuries were grave, but whose spirit burned fiercely. Their interactions were marked by cautious gestures and hesitant words, language barriers bridged by shared pain and the universal language of survival. Kael'thar's guttural vocalizations mingled with Marcus's measured tones, a tentative dialogue that transcended species and history. As they moved, stories unfolded not of grand conquests or heroic victories, but of losses etched into memory and moments of unexpected humanity amidst chaos. Marcus recounted battles where entire squads had fallen, yet survivors had risked everything to shield the innocent. Kaeldar spoke of honor-bound traditions, of warriors who had fought not for glory but to protect their people, even as their world crumbled. In the quiet spaces between words, a mutual understanding blossomed, a recognition that beneath the armor and alien exteriors lay hearts capable of fear, love, and hope. Yet the shadow of war loomed large. The occupying forces were not uniform in their compassion. Factions within Marcus's own ranks viewed any mercy toward the enemy as betrayal. Patrols scoured the ruins with ruthless efficiency, hunting for any signs of resistance or escape. The Varen remnants, though battered and broken, still harbored fierce pride and whispered plans of resurgence. In this volatile crucible, trust was a fragile currency, and survival demanded vigilance as much as courage. Ilir and Kaeldar's fragile alliance became a beacon to other survivors, humans and Varens alike, who emerged cautiously from hiding to join a tentative refuge. The ruins of Dracos V transformed slowly from a tomb into a sanctuary, a place where former enemies found common ground in their shared vulnerability. Marcus took charge of organizing medical aid and rationing supplies, his leadership tempered by a profound respect for the alien warriors who now stood beside him. Kaeldar, once a commander of legions, adapted to a new role as protector of this fragile community, guiding those who had lost everything toward a future uncertain but alive with possibility. As days turned to weeks, the story of the alien warrior who cried for mercy and the human who stayed behind spread quietly through communication relays. It became a legend whispered across star systems, a narrative that defied the simplistic binaries of war, revealing the complexity of survival and the unexpected bonds forged in its crucible. The tale challenged the hardened perspectives of commanders and civilians alike, sowing seeds of doubt in the inevitability of endless conflict. But the galaxy beyond Dracos V was restless. Political machinations and power struggles churned in distant councils, where allegiances shifted like sand dunes and the scars of war threatened to ignite new flames. The fragile refuge on the ruined planet was a fragile light in an ocean of darkness. Both Marcus and Kaeldar knew that their sanctuary could not endure indefinitely without change. To truly save their people and perhaps prevent the cycle of violence from repeating, they would have to transcend the battlefield and confront the forces driving the galaxy toward ruin. In the quiet moments beneath the ash-filled skies, the human and the alien shared visions of a future unbound by hatred and fear. They dreamed of alliances that crossed species, of dialogues replacing gunfire, and of healing that reached beyond physical wounds. Their bond, born of mercy and survival, became a testament to the potential for empathy to alter the course of history. Yet as the shadows lengthened, a new chapter beckoned, one that would test their resolve and courage in ways neither had imagined. The war was not over, and the galaxy's tides were turning toward a reckoning. But in the heart of the broken world, where an alien warrior had cried for mercy and a human had stayed behind, a spark had been lit, a spark that could one day blaze into a force capable of changing the fate of stars. Chapter 3: Bonds Forged in Ashes, a Fragile Alliance in the Shadow of War. The ruined landscape of Dracos V stretched endlessly beneath a turbulent sky, a world suspended between the desolation wrought by conflict and the fragile stirrings of hope. The battered remnants of fortresses and war machines cast long shadows on the cracked earth, while in the distance, faint glimmers of nascent settlements flickered like stars newly born in a darkened cosmos. It was here, amid the skeletal remains of empires and the whispered memories of countless battles, that Marcus and Kaeldar carved out a fragile sanctuary, a place where the wounds of war might begin to heal, and where the impossible alliance of human and alien could be tested against the harsh realities of survival. Their path was neither easy nor certain. Suspicion ran deep on both sides, Varens wary of human intentions, humans haunted by memories of relentless warfare and loss. Trust was a currency earned slowly, and betrayal lurked in the shadows of desperation. Yet, amidst the ruins, a shared purpose emerged, the imperative to protect those who remained, to nurture the flickering flame of life in a world that had known only fire and death for too long. Marcus, with his steadfast calm and unyielding resolve, became a pillar of leadership for the scattered survivors. His years of service had forged him into a man of pragmatism and compassion, a rare combination in the brutal theater of galactic war. He organized teams to scavenge supplies from the wreckage, established communication links with allied forces in nearby systems, and coordinated medical care for the wounded. His presence was a balm to the fractured community, a symbol that amid chaos, humanity's enduring spirit could manifest not just in battle, but in mercy and resilience. Kaeldar, once a commander of legions whose roar inspired both fear and loyalty, embraced a new role as protector and guide. His vast knowledge of Varan culture and tactics was invaluable, yet it was his willingness to shed pride and embrace vulnerability that marked the true transformation. The alien warrior who had cried for mercy was now a living bridge between worlds, a reminder that honor could endure even when empires fell, and that strength was not only measured in combat, but in the capacity to forgive and rebuild. Together, they navigated the treacherous social terrain that lay between survivors of two warring species. Kaeldar mediated disputes rooted in ancient grievances, while Marcus fostered a spirit of cooperation that transcended scars and histories. Their dialogues were long and often fraught, voices raised in frustration but never broken in resolve. Slowly, a new community began to take shape, one forged in the crucible of shared adversity, where former enemies found common cause in the struggle for survival and peace. Beyond the immediate needs of shelter and sustenance, Marcus and Kaeldar understood that survival required a vision, a future that could inspire and sustain hope. They established schools to teach the young, blending human and Varan knowledge, and organized councils where voices from all backgrounds could shape decisions. Artisans and scholars emerged from the shadows, their creations weaving a new cultural tapestry that honored the past while reaching toward a better dawn. The settlement became a living testament to the power of reconciliation and the enduring resilience of life. Yet, even as this fragile sanctuary blossomed, the wider galaxy remained a place of turmoil and menace. News arrived through fragile relay networks, whispers of political machinations in distant star systems, the rise of militant factions seeking to exploit chaos for power, and the ever-present shadow of cosmic threats beyond mortal comprehension. The alliance on Dracos V was a beacon, but it stood alone against a tide that threatened to engulf all in darkness. In quiet moments, beneath the bruised twilight skies, Marcus and Kaeldar would speak of these challenges. The humans' pragmatic optimism often tempered the aliens' somber realism, their conversations a delicate balance of hope and caution. Kaeldar's memories were heavy with the weight of lost worlds and fallen comrades, while Marcus's eyes carried the fire of determination forged in countless battles. Together, they forged strategies not only for defense, but for diplomacy, seeking allies among neutral systems and weaving fragile networks of trust that might one day shift the galaxy's course. Amidst these endeavors, the personal bond between the two deepened, transcending cultural divides and shared hardship. In the quiet spaces between duty and danger, moments of understanding, laughter, and even quiet celebration emerged. They learned each other's languages, exchanged stories of childhoods spent beneath alien suns and distant skies, and discovered the common threads of courage and compassion that bound all beings. This friendship, born in the ashes of war, became a source of strength, a reminder that even in the vastness of space, connection could bridge the deepest divides. However, the peace was tenuous. Rogue elements from both species, unable to accept the fragile truce, plotted in shadows. Saboteurs and assassins lurked in the periphery, seeking to reignite flames of hatred and violence. Intelligence reports warned of incursions by mercenary bands, and rumors swirled of an ancient weapon hidden beneath Dracos V's surface technology capable of tipping the scales toward annihilation or salvation. Marcus and Kaeldar faced a daunting choice: to defend their sanctuary or to venture into the depths of a forgotten past to uncover secrets that might secure their future. The decision was unanimous. United by purpose and trust, They led expeditions into the planet's subterranean ruins, ancient cities swallowed by time and conflict. These expeditions were perilous journeys through labyrinthine tunnels and cryptic chambers, where echoes of lost civilizations whispered warnings and promises. They encountered automated defenses, long-dormant constructs that tested their resolve and ingenuity. Yet with each discovery, they pieced together fragments of history and technology that hinted at a power far greater than either had imagined. Their quest was not merely for weapons or artifacts, but for understanding to grasp the forces that had shaped their worlds and to learn how to harness or contain them. The underground revealed murals depicting alliances and betrayals, the rise and fall of empires, and the eternal struggle between creation and destruction. Among these ancient stories, Marcus and Kaeldar found parallels to their own journey, a testament that history, while marked by conflict, also carried the seeds of redemption. Back on the surface, the community awaited their return with anxious hope. The alliance they had nurtured was fragile, yet it held firm against the encroaching darkness. The children played under the twin moons, unaware of the shadows beyond, their laughter a balm to weary souls. Artisans crafted symbols of unity, emblems that blended Varan motifs with human designs, tokens of a shared destiny. The settlement became a beacon of what could be achieved when mercy triumphed over vengeance. Yet, even as light grew amidst ruin, the war's echoes remained. The galaxy was a vast stage of shifting powers, where every victory was but a prelude to new challenges. Marcus and Kaeldar knew their alliance was but one spark in a constellation of struggles, but they also understood its significance. The silent warrior who had once cried for mercy, and the human who chose compassion over conquest, had ignited a movement, a testament to the possibility of peace forged in the crucible of shared humanity. As they prepared for the battles yet to come, the two stood side by side beneath the blood-red horizon of Dracos V, eyes lifted toward the stars. The future was uncertain, fraught with peril and promise. But they would face it together, embodying the hope that even in the darkest times, mercy and courage could illuminate a path forward, a path that might one day unite not only worlds but entire galaxies. Chapter 4: The Last Stand, Mercy's Triumph and the Dawn of a New Era. The twilight of Dracos V was heavier than ever, the horizon a bleeding scar where the dying suns cast their final, reluctant glow upon a world once consumed by endless war. The settlement that Marcus and Kaeldar had nurtured, the fragile bastion of hope and reconciliation, now stood as the last refuge amidst a galaxy teetering on the brink of chaos. Around them, the air thrummed with a tension born not only of external threats, but of the weighty decisions that lay ahead. The fragile alliance between humans and Varans, once unimaginable, was now tested by the shadows gathering beyond the stars, forces both seen and unseen that sought to unravel the tapestry of peace they had begun to weave. In the command chamber of the settlement, a convergence of leaders, survivors, and visionaries gathered. Marcus, his face etched with the scars of battle and the lines of unyielding resolve, addressed the assembly with the gravity befitting the hour. Beside him, Kaeldar's imposing presence radiated a tempered strength, a living bridge between species, a symbol of unity born in the crucible of war. Their words, steeped in the hard-earned wisdom of shared sacrifice, resonated across the room. Peace was not merely the absence of conflict, but the relentless pursuit of understanding, of empathy, and of shared destiny. Yet, outside the settlement's protective dome, the galaxy roared with unrest. The revelations unearthed in the subterranean ruins beneath Dracos V had not gone unnoticed. Whispers of ancient weapons and forgotten powers stirred the ambitions of factions long dormant and enemies eager to reclaim lost influence. The corrupt remnants of the Galactic Council's shadow cabal, battered but unbroken, marshaled their forces for one final, desperate gambit to seize control of the cluster's fate through domination and fear. The fragile peace held by Marcus, Kaeldar, and their people was threatened by a storm unlike any before. The decision was unanimous: there would be no surrender, no retreat. The last stand was to be made not on distant battlefields, but on the very soil that bore witness to the cost of war and the possibility of mercy. The settlement became a fortress, its defenders a mosaic of human and Varen warriors bound by trust and a shared vision. Scouts and diplomats sought allies among the neighboring systems, weaving a fragile web of support that spanned cultures and species. Every weapon was readied, every shield reinforced, every mind steeled for the battle that would decide the cluster's future. Amid preparations, Marcus and Kaeldar found moments of reflection beneath the scarred sky. Their journey from adversaries to comrades was a testament to the power of compassion and courage. Marcus recalled his early days as a soldier, where the line between enemy and ally was stark and unforgiving, and the cost of mercy often too high. Kaeldar remembered the glory of his youth, the weight of honor that had once defined him, and the humbling realization that true strength lay not in domination, but in the capacity to change, to forgive, and to protect. Together, they embodied the hope that the cycle of violence could be broken. The day of reckoning dawned with a sky ablaze, storms of plasma and ion storms swirling above, as if the heavens themselves were aflame. The approaching fleet of the Shadow Cabal darkened the horizon, a juggernaut of warships whose blackened hulls glistened with menace. Their commanders were ruthless tacticians, their weapons arrays designed to rend worlds and crush spirits. The battle to come would be fierce, a crucible that would test every ounce of strength and will. As the first salvo shattered the silence, the defenders of Dracos V answered with unyielding resolve. Human and Varen fighters soared through the tempest of destruction, their crafts a blur of motion and fire. Ground forces held their lines amidst blasts that tore at earth and stone, their courage unbroken by the fury raining down. Marcus led sorties into the thick of battle, his piloting skills a beacon amid chaos, while Kaeldar commanded squads of warriors whose ferocity was tempered by newfound purpose. The Aurora's flame, once a symbol of shattered hope, now stood as the heart of resistance. Its weaponry unleashed torrents of energy that carved paths through enemy ranks, while its shields absorbed barrages that would have felled lesser vessels. Marcus, fused to the neural interface that had transformed him from mechanic to pilot, moved with an almost prescient grace, anticipating enemy maneuvers and exploiting weaknesses. The ship was alive, a symphony of technology and human spirit united in defiance. But the Shadow Cabal's forces were relentless. Their flagship, the Oblivion's Wrath, loomed like a dark god of war, its cannons blazing with cataclysmic force. The battle escalated into a cosmic tempest, beams colliding in cascades of brilliant destruction that painted the void with fire. The ground trembled, and the skies wept with the fury of unleashed energies. In this maelstrom, every choice carried the weight of survival or annihilation. Amid the chaos, a critical moment emerged. The Oblivion's Wrath unleashed a devastating assault aimed at the settlement's core, an energy blast capable of obliterating the fragile refuge in an instant. Marcus, sensing the imminent threat through the neural interface, made a desperate gambit. Piloting the Aurora's flame through a tempest of fire and debris, he engaged the graviton engines to perform a risky spatial weave-in intricate maneuver that bent space around the ship, allowing it to intercept the blast at its source. The Aurora's flame surged forward, shields flaring as it absorbed the brunt of the explosion. Marcus's mind and the ship's systems became one, a conduit of raw will and technological prowess. With precise targeting, he unleashed a counterstrike, a focused beam of crystallized energy drawn from the ancient ruins beneath Dracos V, amplified through the neural interface. The beam struck the Oblivion's Wrath's main reactor, igniting a chain reaction that shattered its core in a cataclysmic explosion. The flagship's destruction sent shockwaves through the enemy fleet, fracturing their cohesion and turning the tide. Ground forces pressed their advantage, driving invaders back into retreat. The settlement, though battered, stood resilient, a beacon of victory forged through unity and mercy. In the aftermath, as the fires cooled and the skies cleared, the survivors gathered to honor the fallen and rebuild anew. The alliance of humans and Varens blossomed into a federation of shared purpose, a testament to what could be achieved when compassion overcame hatred. Marcus and Kaeldar, once bound by circumstance, now stood as leaders of a new era, champions of peace and guardians of hope. Under the twin suns of Dracos V, a monument was raised, a a sculpture melding human and Varen artistry, symbolizing the enduring power of mercy and friendship. It bore an inscription in both languages. In the darkest hour, mercy is the light that guides us beyond the shadows. It stood as a reminder to all who looked upon it that even amidst the ruins of war, humanity and alien kin alike could find a path to reconciliation. As the stars wheeled overhead, Marcus and Kaeldar stood side by side, gazing into the infinite expanse that had brought them together. The galaxy remained vast and unpredictable, its future shaped by countless choices yet to be made. But here, in this quiet moment of peace born from strife, two souls from disparate worlds found solace in the knowledge that mercy had triumphed and that, together, they could face whatever dawn awaited.